pop up at the top of the screen. But like I said, we will kind of share this with you straight after. Okay. So first thing I'm going to do, I'm just going to share my desktop. So hopefully you can all see my screen now. And away we go. So we're going to kind of kick off really. So I've created a little demo Teams environment. So I will be flicking between our kind of demo environment and our kind of live team session, so I can show you kind of different pieces. Firstly, when you log into Teams for the very first time, you will see the toolbar on the left hand side. So which the first 3 or 4 items are kind of the most important in terms of what we're going to cover today. So firstly, the activity. So any messages or any notifications that you've not seen will appear in your activity bar. So if you're a member of a team, which we'll come on to in due course, or somebody sent you a message that you've not seen, or anything else, you will see that appear in your activity or your feed. Your chat box, which I'm hoping some of you have obviously been using as part of that. So in terms, when you go to send a new chat message, if anyone's used Facebook Messenger or WhatsApp, or obviously hopefully you've been using Teams, to create a new message, just click on the little pencil symbol up in the top left hand corner, type in the name of the person that you want to send a Teams message to. Now this can be obviously within your organization, but if other organizations have got Teams enabled and their security settings are enabled to enable communication from outside, i.e. if this is one of your customers or one of your suppliers that's also using Teams, you can communicate with people outside of your organization with some restrictions, but pretty much as if they were part of your organization. So in this scenario, this is our demo environment. So whilst Jack is an AAG employee, we can see in this case he is an external person. So again, Jack could be one of our customers or one of our suppliers in this case. And I can also see Jack's present status from an external point of view as well. So I can see that Jack's busy. Obviously, he's attending this training session at the moment, and I can still interact with him, and he can see my present status, and we can communicate perfectly normally as if Jack was part of this fake company that I've kind of got created here. The presence is kind of really important. So you can see up the top here, I'm kind of green and available. That's indicating to anybody that's wanting to send, well, in this case, my fictional character, Indiana Jones, that wants to send a message, that Indiana's green and available. And what that means is that effectively I've touched a key on the keyboard in the last few minutes, and it's just letting everyone know there's nothing in my calendar, and I am available and actively at my computer. Historically, when you used to send an email, you wouldn't necessarily know when you were going to get a reply to that, because if that was in another building or another department, you don't necessarily even know that person's in the office today. Teams really does give us that indication, and that kind of follows through. The one thing to kind of just be aware of, and I always just kind of make people aware of this, is your status will go red if something is in your calendar in Outlook. So if you use your calendar for reminders, so if you needed to pick up some bread from Mazda on the way home or whatever it may be, that will turn your status red. So if somebody's status is red, it's not that you can't message them. It's just kind of a bit of a warning that actually they may be busy, but feel free to message them. But it's that whole idea of a perceived response and how quickly somebody will come back to me. In the chat session, I can create impromptu kind of video and audio calls. So if I initiate a video call, like we're doing a video call today, just kind of be well, the first thing I say to everyone is kind of get over the fear of turning your webcam on. To start with, everybody hates it. Categorically, everybody hates doing it. But really, please do turn your camera on. It makes for a much more engaging conversation. Being able to see people's body language, talking to people face to face is always better than just a voice coming out of some speakers. So really, please try and get over that fear. It does make Teams a much better experience. The only exception to that I would say is that if you're in a rural area or your broadband isn't a particularly good quality, or you're getting audio breakup, so i.e. if the call is becoming disjointed and you're getting a low quality audio come through, turn your camera off. You may find that it is actually just a bandwidth issue with your internet, and the audio will be much better if that's turned off. One of the other things that you can do as an impromptu session is obviously share your screen as well. So the third icon along here is kind of the screen sharing button. So quickly and easy with my colleagues, if I'm talking to them and say, look, can you have a look at this document for me, or this message, or can you show me how to do something, I can share my screen with anybody that I've got as a contact within my team. So I can choose to either share my full desktop, so if I browse and navigate and go into different programs and different windows, they'll be able to see everything that I'm doing, such as you can today. Or if I've got some confidential information on my screen and I just want to be really careful in terms of what information I'm sharing, you can choose just to share a specific window or a specific program. So if I've got an Excel spreadsheet open and I only want to share that data in that Excel spreadsheet and I don't want to see anything else, I can just select that window with that spreadsheet, or in this case, that Teams window or this kind of browser window that I've got here. So I can start to be kind of really restrictive and controlling what other people are starting to see. What the window that you're sharing, when you do share, you'll kind of get a red border around the outside of the screen. I'm not sure if you can see that on this session, but you kind of do get a red border, so it highlights what window is actually being shared. I'm just going to flick back into my Teams session a second, because one of the things I just want to show everyone is if I just go into this chat screen, if you go into the top right hand corner, and if you'll either have your initials there, or if you've changed your profile picture, click on your profile picture, and there are some additional settings in here, and it's really worthwhile going in to review this. So if you've been using Teams for some time and you're perhaps a member of multiple teams, sometimes you find the notifications can get really quite busy, and you might just want to tailor that to quieten it down if it is becoming too busy. So just go into the notification section. I'm not going to go through all the details in here because, like I said, this is quite a short session in terms of what we're doing. But really do go in and review these, because you can start to tailor what is kind of popping up in the bottom right corner and what you're getting notified about. Just kind of worthwhile going in to review that. Whilst we're in here, the other kind of little tip, really, particularly working from home, is go into your devices. So if you're using a headset, and this is kind of a prime example here. So I have my headset set as my default audio device. So my microphone and my speaker is coming through my headset. However, if I was just to pop into the kitchen and make a coffee, by default, that secondary speaker is turned off. So if somebody's ringing me, it'll be ringing through my earpiece on my headset. And if I've left my headset down or whatever it may be, I'm not going to hear that call. So if you set your secondary speaker to be your computer, your laptop speaker, or your speakers connected to your home computer, it does mean it will ring on that as well as coming through your headset. So just sometimes quite useful, particularly if you've just nipped to make a coffee and you don't want to miss that call that's coming through. Okay. So in terms of other things that we can kind of do while we're in a chat session, what you can see here is I shared earlier a document with Jack. Now, Office 365 as a whole is all about collaboration, but we're really going to just focus on the Teams piece of this today. Now, on the fly, I've got a Word document, my little demo document here that you can see that I've created, that I want Jack to do some work on as well. So all I've done is I've gone and attached the document. I've uploaded it from my computer and I've dropped it in this Teams session. Now, what that means is that both me and Jack can collaborate on that document at the same time. So this is kind of outside some of the other, well, it uses some of the other 365 tools, but we can do this directly within Teams. So if I click on this Word document here, that's within the chat session, I can immediately at the top here see actually Jack's already in this document. So he's got it open. It's almost as if I teed him up to do this. And I can see there Jack's typing away, and I can see the cursor on the screen that he's actually modifying and editing this document at the same time. Now we can both be working on this document and both be editing it and modifying it. So this is particularly useful if you're up against a deadline and you need to get a document out the door. This is kind of one of the examples I really like. And perhaps you need somebody to quality check that document or proofread it, but you're really up against that deadline. Well, you can share that document with somebody else, get them checking it from the start whilst you're still finishing it off. They can be making any grammatical changes or typos or whatever it may be, and actually just being really efficient. Or if you need multiple departments to be able to add their information into a document, it might be a tender document, etc. This is kind of just a really useful impromptu way of kind of sharing files within Teams. There's other ways of dealing with this in 365 as well, but this is obviously specifically Teams related. So in terms of doing that, that's obviously great. One of the other things that we can do is if we're having a conversation or a video call or a Teams chat or an audio call, we might be mid-flow in a conversation and go, actually, we need somebody else's input into this. Now, if that was on the phone, typically we'd all hang up the phone the other person, get them to call back and just play a bit of telephone tennis. Within here, we can just add participants and have a kind of a conference call on the fly. So, and again, this doesn't matter if I'm in a video call or just a chat session. I can click on add people, type in somebody's name. So I can see Gavin's, I can see he's joined this call. I can add Gavin, and that will join Gav straight into this call, and we will have an on the fly kind of conference call. I can add as many people as I like in there, up to 250. So Teams will support a maximum of 250 concurrent people. I think this morning, this morning's training session that we did, I think we had about 68 people joined, and absolutely no issues at all. So just that kind of conferencing and collaboration bit on the fly, and this is kind of all impromptu chats that we're talking about here, is kind of really easy and quite straightforward to do. So I'm just going to bob back into my demo environment. Okay. Oh, in fact, whilst I'm still there, I will also just show you one of the new features that's literally just come out. So when you're working from home, so you'll have all seen that Jack's done me a nice branded up background. I think some people have said I'd look like I'm presenting a child's TV show. But when you go into the Teams chat, so if I just go back into here, when you're working from home, or even if you're in the conference room, you can change your background or you can blur your background. So if you click on those three little dots again, next to kind of where we did the show conversation bit earlier, you go to show background effects, and this was only released, I think it was last Friday, that you can actually change your background to be whatever they've kind of given you lots of different templates. So if you're working from home and you don't necessarily want to see people to see what's in the background, you can simply just blur your screen, which is kind of that top option there. So you can see that just kind of blurs my background to where I'm at, or I can actually just go back to my custom one that I created off the background. So it's just kind of helping people kind of working from home. I recommend that people kind of do that anyway, because even if you're in the boardroom, very often there's a flip chart that's been left in the corner, and it's really easy to be projecting some confidential information unknowingly because it's kind of behind you in the room. So it's really worthwhile kind of blurring your background or changing your background kind of no matter what, really, when you join a session. Or if you've seen that kind of the BBC News feed where the child's climbing crawling in the room in the background, and mum comes in and drags it out. It just kind of avoids all that kind of stuff as well. So yeah, that's just kind of a brand new feature that's just come in. So the other bit that we can do within Teams is, obviously we've spoken about creating impromptu calls. Sorry, let's go back here. Is actually scheduling a meeting for the future. So if I know I'm going to have a team meeting or a management meeting or a project meeting, my preference is to do this in Outlook. You can do it in Teams or Outlook, but obviously we spend a lot of our time in both programs now. So if I want to create a new Teams meeting in the future, I can go and pick my day and time that I want to create my meeting. I've now got this button here that says Teams meeting. So when I click on that, that will create me my link to this virtual meeting room. And I can now just send this as a normal calendar appointment. So I can send it to Jack. I'll leave it for 2:30. I'm not going to put any other detail in this now. Test meeting. And I will just go away and send that. In fact, before I just leave there, I will actually just show you the meeting options bit in here as well. So if you go into the meeting options link within there, there are some additional options that you can set. So if you're setting up a meeting with a customer or a supplier or just somebody that's external to your organization, there is this notion of creating a lobby area, a waiting area. So if you're having an internal meeting about the client, the supplier, or whatever it may be first, and you don't necessarily want those people just kind of walking straight into the room and interrupting that conversation, you can hold them in the lobby. And you can change the options around this as well. So you can say, actually, if it's somebody within my organization, they're going to come straight into the room, that's fine. But if you're external, we're going to you'll get a little pop-up box that says, do you actually want to admit them in? And you can just click on yes, and they'll come straight in. You can obviously change those options as well, and restrict who can come straight through into the meeting. And you can restrict who can present as well. So in terms of sharing your screen, that's kind of more particular. Well, it's useful in a number of cases, but like if you're in like a classroom environment and you don't want people sharing their screen or just kind of really messing about with the session, you can restrict who can actually present off the back of that. So it's just kind of worthwhile seeing that actually in those meeting options. If you just kind of click on that link, that will kind of take you straight in. Okay, the other way that you can create that meeting, so if I go into here, if you go into your calendar within Teams, I can just go and create a new meeting from here. So in the top right corner, I can click on new meeting and I can fill out the details. I can give this my test meeting 2. I can invite who I want to my meeting. I can set my day and time, send my notes, etc. And I can just press send and that will just create a normal calendar appointment in exactly the same way as it does through Outlook. There is an option here where you can add it to a channel as well, which I'll kind of come back to shortly, and just kind of show you what that means and how that sits. Okay, so I'm just going to discard that. So you can see my test meeting that I created has already kind of come through there that I can access. Okay, so the other thing that we can do within Teams is actually create a team. So I'm just going to go back into my test environment. So my next option down is obviously that Teams button. So within Teams, we create teams for a variety of reasons. So a team can be everyone in your organization, which I would suggest that is kind of created and set up so that you've got a means of communicating with everyone, and then creating either department teams or project teams or a social team, anything that you would collectively create as a group of people that you can actually create a team for. So what you can see here is I've created a couple of kind of examples, but creating a team is really easy and straightforward. You just click on the button create a team. I typically always kind of build it from scratch because it's kind of really easy. It normally makes it sound more complicated, but in this case, it's kind of really not. So if you do build from scratch, I'm only seeing the organizational wide one there is only there because I'm an administrator. Typically, if you're not an administrator, you will only see public or private teams. Kind of does what it says on the tin. Public one, anybody can join. Private, I'm going to control who's got access and who I'm actually going to invite to that team. So I'm going to create this a private team. I'm going to call this. Going to be really imaginative here. Team 3, and we'll create that. And then I can start to invite who I'm going to make a member of. Or in fact, I'm in my test environment, so I'm going to invite Henry, and I'm going to invite Shorty, and I'm going to make those a member of my team as well. At this point, I can choose if I want to give somebody else ownership. So if I don't want all the administrative burden of it myself and inviting people, I can give other people kind of owner permissions of this team as well. And then that's it. That's set up. Now I've created an area for us all to kind of within this team to work together, that we can kind of communicate and send messages within this team. The one thing I kind of just let everyone know straight away is when you create a team, and it's one of the most common questions that I get, is by default you're not going to get notified of activity in here. With teams, you as an individual go and choose what you want to be notified about and what's going to effectively pop up and just kind of tap you on the shoulder to say, look, there's a message here. So to turn notifications on, within the team, we have this general channel. So a channel is for focused conversation within a team, and we can create multiple channels within there. So as a prime example, within AAG, within our main AAG team, we have a service desk channel. We have what's called our honk channel. So if somebody get some good work or does some good work, or we get positive feedback from a client, we'll send them a little message in our honk channel. And again, they're just kind of focused areas for communication within that team. But again, if I want to be notified, so if something happens in this channel, I want to be notified about it because this is really important to me. Click on the 3 little dots next to the channel, go into channel notifications, and you can see here at the moment it is turned off because that's what it is default out of the box. I would always suggest that you go and turn that on. You can turn it to, I normally change it to banner and feed. So banner and feed basically means that I'll get my little pop-up message in the bottom right hand corner, like when you get an email, and it will show in my activity up in that top left hand corner. So I'll go and turn that on. I can choose whether I want to be notified about all the replies. Don't necessarily want that, but you can absolutely turn that on. It will obviously increase the amount of noise that you get, and then I can save that and set that up. So now if anybody posts a message within here, I will get notified. There is one exception to that. So if somebody mentions me, and that doesn't matter where that is within Teams, if I mention an individual, so if I do in this case Henry Jones, that person is going to get notified because I've specifically named them, so they will get a little notification that says, hey, you need to go and have a look at this message in the team, or it'll pop up with the message anyway. So you will get notified and it will override that. So if you are sending a message within a team and you want somebody to read that message, make sure you mention them as part and parcel of that. That will kind of really help if they've not turned the notifications on. One of the other things that you can do within Teams is you can store files. So for every team that you create and every channel that you create, it creates you a file storage area within Office 365. So if you want to upload files or just store files that are related to that project or that department, you've got an area here that you can do that. And in the same way that I demonstrated with Jack earlier, in terms of collaborating on those files, you can all access that document. If it's a Microsoft document, I'd kind of add to that, is you can all add and modify and work on those documents at the same time. which is really quite useful. The other bit to kind of really note in here is that you can then start to customize this as well. So you can add different applications and features to your team and to your channel. So one that's kind of particularly noteworthy that I particularly like, but again, you'll see in here, there's literally loads and loads of different things that you can add. But as an example is the planner application. So you can go and add the planner, and I'm going to call this just tasks. So I'm going to create a planner and call it tasks. And now I've kind of got a really basic project management tool that's related to this team. So if I want somebody to do something, or I've got a series of tasks that are assigned that have come off the back of a meeting, we will now add it in here. So I'll give the task a name. So let's do it as make some coffee, and I want that coffee to be made tomorrow, or it's due to be made by tomorrow, and then I'm going to assign it. I want Henry to make me that coffee. Sorry, I added Indiana in there as well. Okay, and then I can go and add that task, and that will assign that task and notify that individual that there's a task that's kind of been created that they'll be able to see to do. And then I can now go into a chart. I can see any outstanding tasks left, who they're for, and what they're to do. So those kind of little action notes coming out of a meeting. That this is a really useful place to put this, and then you can see like a little schedule off the back of that as well. So you can kind of see how quick and easy that is to do. But I said there's lots of other things that you can do in there. You can add links to websites or PowerPoint presentations or PDF files, or there's a whole array of things in there that you can cover off. But it's kind of really worthwhile going in to have a look. So I'm just kind of aware of time. So in terms of, obviously we said this session was kind of going to be a half an hour session. Are there any questions that have come up so far, Jack?
Oh, hi. Yeah, we've got a few. We've got Richard has said, for adding in external contacts, who controls the privacy, security and visibility settings? Is it the individual user or is it the company?
It's the company. So the privacy settings out of the box when you first set up 365 is they are for a Teams chat, they are actually open. So unless it's been restricted, you can initiate a Teams chat with somebody else externally. It will vary from company to company and whoever set it up. And from an administrator rights, you can really restrict that down, so you can actually say that it's only permitted, and you can allow specific domains that you're allowed to communicate with. So you can restrict it or open it up as much as you like.
Right. Okay, no problem. Kate has asked, can everyone view your conversation with an external client?
So if it's the conversation itself, everything in your conversation history is stored within Office 365. So it's kind of a really important point, that Teams isn't kind of a personal WhatsApp or Facebook Messenger. This is a company-owned product and is completely auditable. So don't put anything in a Teams chat that you're not willing to put your name to. It's just like an email. It is still stored there in the background, and it is absolutely auditable from a business perspective.
Okay, no problem. Gav has asked what the easiest way of uploading a document to Share and Collaborate is.
So the thing is, there's various different ways of doing that. So again, a bit like I showed in the chat session, you can just upload a document in there by clicking the kind of the little attachment symbol. So if I go into my chat with Jack, I can click on the attachment and upload a file. If it's already in my OneDrive, I can do that as well. If it's within my team, I can upload my file within a team as well. So again, I can click on upload, and go and grab whatever file that I want to upload into there. But in either of those locations, obviously this is very much Teams related, that you can collaborate on those documents there.
If more than one person is revising a document, how do you save the revised document and where does it get saved to?
Okay, so when you're amending documents in 365, it creates a version history. So you can see every single change that's been made to that document. So if let's see if I've got this here. So this Teams chat file, so if I just change this by modified date. So this is the document here that me and Jack have been working on. This file, by default, if you just upload it into Teams, it automatically puts it in your OneDrive. And in your OneDrive, there's a folder in there called Microsoft Teams Team Chat Files. So by default, that's where it will go to if you do it within the chat session. In terms of the tracking the changes, if I click on the three little dots next to this, and then I go to version history, I can see every single change that's been made to that document, and I can open up any one of those changes as well and restore it back to a previous version. So if I wanted to just click on, version 6 of that document, I can go up and open that, and it will show me that version at that time, and then I can even compare what changes have been made within that document. And then if I want to restore it back to that, and I go, right, okay, that's the one I want to go back to, I can just click restore, and that will restore that back to version 6. Really don't worry if you restore it inadvertently, because when you click restore, it creates a new version of that document. So if I go back into version history now, you will see that there's a new version that I've just created. So you really can't, it's very difficult to lose anything off the back of that. And that's kind of one of the benefits of using Office 365 and Teams, is this whole version history and that traceability that sits behind it.
Great. The last question is from Julie, and she said, could you advise how to change the custom background again, please?
Yeah, no problem. So the background, so if I go into, so in terms of the background, if you hover your mouse down to the kind of the middle part of the screen again, you'll see these kind of three little dots that sit here, and then go to show background effects. And then if you click on there, you will see the backgrounds that change here on the right hand side. The bit that I've done in terms of our background, or what Jack actually put it together for me, is a kind of slight little hack in the background at the moment. There isn't a kind of a button that allows you to do it, but if you do need a custom background and you've got the artwork for it, let us know and I'll show you how to do that. It's just a little manual process that you've got to do in the background.
Brilliant. That's the last of the questions as of yet.
Okay. Anybody else got any questions that they want to ask? Okay. Lovely. Guys, thank you very much. We will be releasing some more dates for kind of some more advanced sessions off the back of this. Hopefully you found it useful, but it's just been very much a starter session today. If you have any questions, we will be sharing our kind of contact details after. And Jack, did you say you want them to was there something you wanted to email?
If you'd like to email either myself or Charlie just with certain other more advanced topics, if you like, that's always appreciated. If there's something specific that you'd like to see in future, that'd be great.
We'll make sure they're included in those kind of future sessions.
Yep. Perfect.
Okay, thanks guys. Thank you very much.
Thank you.